Okay, so now I push the start button and the machine is stitching. I think this says baby Roquan. My sister's baby, that's what we called him when he was in the womb. If at any time I want to stop the stitching, all I have to do is press stop. It'll stop it. If I need it to cut the thread, then I can press the scissors button and it cuts the thread. And then if I ever did have a reason to stop it, I liked to back it up a little bit just to make sure that it doesn't leave any gaps. So all you would do is press this arrow button. You press it, go back to where you want, and then hit stop to make it stop. Now, if you need to go back a lot, you can press this star button. And when I press the star button, you'll see that it changes from 1 to 10 to 100 to color. You don't need that. That takes you back to the actual stitch. So I'm going to hit escape. So 1, if it's on 1, it just goes back 1 at a time, 1 stitch at a time. If it's on 10, you can watch the count right there. It'll go back 10 stitches at a time. If it's on 100, it'll go back 100 stitches. And then if you need to change the color and go back to the previous step or forward to the next step, so watch the highlight when I'm gonna push forward, and the highlight will go over to the second step. So I'm gonna push back to go back to my first step. And so now we're back on the B. So I'm just gonna hit start again. So it's going to go back over what I did. Normally you wouldn't want to do this, but I'm just showing you an example. Okay, it's done with the B, so it's going to cut the thread. Alright, so this is where my stop is. You can see it's highlighting the stop. So if we're doing an applique, I would take the shirt off the machine, just like this. And then I would bring it over here to my table, and I would cut around the fabric. My favorite scissors to use for that are these scissors. They're a little curved, and they can get close to the stitches. So if I was doing an applique, I would cut the fabric, and then I would, I used to have my iron over here, I would bring this over here, and just do a quick iron touch to my applique fabric, just to make sure it's straight and down. Then I would bring this back over here, and I would stick the shirt back on the machine. Always make sure that hole, that peg is lined up with that hole, and that is lined up there. Otherwise it'll be a crooked design. And then I would come over here and I would hit start again. Alright, so this is a good example. I did not have my thread in all the way because I cleaned the machine before I filmed this. So my thread broke. So it says thread breakage error. I'm going to hit stop. Alright, so it lifts it back up. And then I'm going to show you, where am I? So I take my scissors. I have the thread here. This is where it went up to here. So I just trim a little bit off because the end of the thread frays. And then I stick it back through these holes. Learning to thread this is just, it'll take a few practices, but you always have the other threads to look at so that you can see how it's supposed to be. You stick it through there, and then stick it through the needle, which sometimes can be a little hard. I used to have a light over this so that I could see better. Alright, so I got through the needle, and I will sanitize that for you. Alright, so I pulled the thread through. You wrap it around its corresponding little knob up here. Alright, so it should be good to go. Now, since it broke, I'm going to go ahead and back up some steps so that it will basically start over. So I'm going to hit start. The tail of the thread got cut up a little bit, but you can just trim that in the center. That's no big deal. Alright, so now we're at our next stop, and I'm going to stop here because I think that you get the picture. Once I did the applique, I would just hit start again, and it would start with the rest of the design. And if you're just doing embroidery and you don't have any stops, the great thing is you set this up, you hit start, and you walk away, and you don't have to worry about it. Appliques, you got to stick around, trim the fabric, and then you can walk away, and it's, you know, still another 5-10 minutes of stitching. So that's the advantage of these machines over most home machines, because most people have to sit there and babysit them and make sure that the shirt's not getting tangled up and all that good stuff. So next I'm going to show you about the bobbin.